Hi, everybody. This is Lowell, and we're talking about the importance of cable management. And I was speaking once with a guy that was an electronics repairman, and was having a problem with the sound system. And he came out and looked, and it was just a big rat's nest of cables everywhere. And he looked at me. He says, there's kind of a rule. He says, if it looks clean, it will sound clean. And that was just the rule that he lived by as an audio technician and electronics repairman. But it really is true. If you can keep your cables managed well, it's really helpful. It helps you trace things out, whenever you have a problem. But anyway, what I wanted to show you today is just some basic, very simple understandings of how to take care of your cables. And this came out years ago, and probably a lot of you are aware of it or have seen this before. But when it first came out, I thought, oh, what a great idea! And it was to use these basically Velcro to manage your cables. And this is what I use for my big bundles of cable that I need to keep managed. And then you can hang your cables on a pegboard or whatever. They've started making them, that are colored and uh, you know. But what I find really helpful is just to go to the store and buy a whole roll of them, and then you can cut them to whatever length you want. I wanted to encourage you to understand this about cables. There's a small cable, but the most vulnerable place on a cable is right here, right at the very tip. Not the tip itself, but it's the cable that leads into the tip. That's where cables break, and usually it's because when you plug it into something, then you push your equipment up against some wall or whatever, and it puts a bind, or it puts like a 90-degree on this. The other reason that it's vulnerable is just because whenever people grab it to pull it out, they pull it from the wire itself instead of from the actual plug. And when you do that, you're putting stress on the wire. Another thing I've seen is people, whenever they if they don't have Velcro on hand, they wrap up the cable in a sort of a circular way, and then in order to bind it, they take this last piece and wrap it around and tie it in a knot. That's not helpful. So if you don't have Velcro on hand, this is kind of a little trick that I've learned that I like. And an audio technician showed this to me. Take your whatever cable you have and find the ends of it, and so just basically fold it in half, and then now I'm going to fold that in half, right? And then I'm going to fold that in half, and then I'm just going to take it this way instead of folding it in half again, and then take this and tie a very gentle knot like so. All right, and so you're not putting a bind on the ends, and then you have a way to hang it on a pegboard, and so I find that to be very helpful. So I think that's pretty much everything I was going to tell you about cable management. I did find a very curious way of folding. I was talking to a guy that came up with this, and I thought, oh, I thought I'd try it, and it actually really does work. And he was talking about, he had seen kind of the movement of snakes on the ground, and he said it gave him an idea in terms of how to fold, or how to deal with especially large types of cables that keep on getting tangled up. Like, there's one thing that I can't stand, and that's whenever I get my extension cord, like my 50-foot or 75-foot extension cord, and I need it to stretch out across the yard, and then it all gets tangled up on itself because it wasn't folded properly. And this guy had this idea. It's like, instead of just folding in a loop, um, to actually do like almost like a figure eight, to where you loop one side, then you loop the other side, then you loop one side and you loop the other side. And that's actually what I've done here with this extension cord, is, created these two loops. And so and surprisingly, it really works well. Whenever I unfold it, it very rarely gets tangled up on itself. Um, just, I don't know why, but cable management is really an art. Out here in West Texas, we have people that work on the oil field rigs, and they have these long, uh, I guess, steel cables, and they have to manage them well. And there was a guy that I worked with at one point. He was trying to apply some of that oil field technology to working with a sound system, what they call snakes, these big, large snake cables. And what would happen is that the loop would, you could lay the loop on top, but then it wouldn't lay. It's like the cable wanted to go this other direction. And so what he would do is he would loop it under so that it would lay down. And that's a technique that they used in the oil field. And so whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but it seemed to work in the oil field. Anyway, keep your cables neat and straight, especially around your equipment. And use Velcro. Velcro is really great. I used to tape everything. I used to tape all my cables. I wanted them to look neat, and then I would have a problem, in terms of tracing something. I had to, basically unplug a cable and pull it out or whatever, and I always regretted taping things. So Velcro is a good way to avoid that. And but keeping cables neat will keep your sound system neat, and it will protect and give longevity to your cables. I've had some cables for decades that have lasted. So anyway, take care of your cables and they will take care of you.